Kakadosh Boker Or, we're just continuing with the halachot in the Pirkei Avot. A very interesting case actually comes up. Imagine right now you're going to be in a store and you see your friend that he's taking an item which is very, very expensive. The question is, are you allowed to come and you're allowed to tell him, listen, don't buy it here because it's very, very expensive. Mitzad echad, you have in front of you the money, right, of the seller, and therefore, or you have the money of the buyer, of the purchaser. Who do you actually give preference to? Imagine right now I come and I tell him, listen, don't buy it. What does that mean? I'm having rachmanut. I have pity on your money. But one second, but you have also the seller. I have to have also pity on his money. So the Mishnah says, Yehi mamon chavercha chaviv alecha keshelach. The money of your friend should be just as precious to you as if it's your money. So now who do you actually come and you give preference to? Is it the buyer or the seller? At the end of the day, if they're both going to be chaviv to me, I'm going to let him come and pay a fortune for it. Why? Because at the end of the day, right, I know exactly what's going to happen. He needs the money. But mitzad sheni, the purchaser, why should he get ripped off? So which one do you go for? So the obligation to come and to save somebody's money is an obligation on any type of a money. For example, you see that a motor is running, whether it's going to be AC, whether it's going to be lights, whether it's going to be water, which is coming out of a pipe, right? That's not for any necessity. And a person can lose a lot of money. You have to actually come and you have to save the money of your friend based upon this Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. Or at least you have to come and you have to notify him. Even if it is that you're not going to come and you're not going to actually do something physically about it, at least you notify him. By the way, your car is still on, so be careful about your battery or the lights or the water or all these things. Then he says, this is actually brought down in the Gemara Masechet Metzia Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph, and it's in Shulchan Aruch Hosh Mishpat Siman Resh Nun Tet Sif Tet. This comes from the obligation of Hashavat Aveda. What does that mean? Just like if you find a lost object, you're obligated to come and to return it. So too, there's no difference between a lost object and your loss of money, which means that if somebody is going to lose money, you have to give it back to him. So that way he's not going to lose out his money. So therefore, the exact same halacha would apply here. So in our case, the poskim though come and they write down as follows. If the price which the seller is asking is more than 16%, that's what it says, shasar achuzim, that which the other places, the other stores in that area are selling it, so therefore the mocher is doing more than a shtut. Remember, a shtut is 1/6, which is 16 point whatever percent. So if it's going to be more than that percentage above the prices of the other stores in the area, so therefore he's considered like a ramai, like a trickster. And therefore it's a mitzvah to tell your friend, do not buy there. Now again, this has to do with the area, because we're not talking about that you're going to be, for example, here in Surfside, and then you're going to go to a place in Hollywood or whatever. Why? Rent is much cheaper, everything's much cheaper, so therefore obviously you cannot compare apples with oranges. Here, since it's a more affluent area and they're paying much more rent, you cannot compare the prices between here and a place that's far off in the middle of nowhere where they're hardly paying any rent. But we're talking about in the same concept, right, that you have around us, that one person's overcharging, they're price gouging, but more than a shtut than the market price of that area. So he says, however though, if the difference is going to be less than 16%, it's a sur for you to tell your friend, do not purchase there, right? Unless he comes and he asks you on the prices on other places. Meaning, if he comes and he tells you, by the way, these are the prices here, are there cheaper prices anywhere else? There you're allowed to tell him, because at the end of the day he's asking you for information. You're not supposed to come and lie or just say, I don't know. No, that you could actually come and tell him that the real prices in other stores are different. However, though, he says that if the purchaser, right, still he's not sure about buying it, and all the more so if he didn't go in to the store, then you're allowed to come and tell him that there's other cheaper stores, which means like this. If he's already in the store, and now he's going, so you, first of all, if it's less than a 6, you're not allowed to tell him. If he asks you for cheaper prices or things like that in other stores, you're allowed to tell him. But if it's before he goes into the store, if he comes and he starts asking, or you're allowed to come and you're allowed to tell him, by the way, there's a cheaper store in so-and-so place, or there's a cheaper place somewhere else. This is actually brought down in Chosh Mishpat Siman Shinayin Chet, that just like you're not allowed to come and to steal the money of your friend, you're not allowed to cause him damage. And damage is even through grama, through a cause and effect, which means an indirect damage, that's also going to be prohibited. So therefore they come and they say the exact same halacha would apply, that the lokeach, he's going to be certain that if he's already certain he's going to purchase it, so therefore you're going to stop him. It's as if that you're stealing from him. So therefore you're not allowed to do chesed, which is going to cause the other guy is going to lose. However, though, again, also in this case, right, if that person is a karov mishpacha, right, if you're a family member of the one that's purchasing, so then you're allowed to come and you're allowed to give him a chanut, which is going to be cheaper, even if it's not going to be a 16% difference, and even if he's already going to come and he's going to decide to probably purchase it from there. And the reason why is because there's a halacha misarechal titalam, which means from a family member, you should never close your eyes from them. Just like the Gemara says in Masechet Ketubot. So therefore there is a concept that there's en kavod chavercha chashub b'china ilchatit b'diuk kefi hamamon shilcha, but it all depends. Now this is all brought down in the halachot of the Tshuvot v'Hanagot, but he says, im krovo gamar b'tom mamash liknot, he says, however, though if your family member mamash, he's buying it, he already has it in his cart, and he's already lining up, then don't tell him anything. But if not, a family member, you have a moral obligation to come and to try to save them from overspending, right, and things like that. So therefore, for a family member, it's going to be different than some stranger that you have that's going to be in the store, or a friend even that you have in the store, that you're not going to come and you're not going to advise him to come and to start purchasing an item.